Good afternoon. It's nearly the weekend. It's probably one of the hottest days of the year, so I of course have my coffee. And today is a bit of an unplanned video because I was working from home the other day, as I do a couple of times a week, and lo and behold, Issac Butterfield came onto my YouTube. So you were probably wondering, if you don't already know who Issac Butterfield is. Well, Issac Butterfield is a comedian and a YouTuber, and he lives in Australia. He actually lives in Newcastle in Australia. So, me, not, I am actually miles away from Newcastle, but not that many miles. And he got himself something to bother. As I've said, I'll let him explain it here.
I really do believe that you can do any type of joke about any subject on stage as long as it's funny.
Now you see, mate, I think that's where you went wrong, depending on human nature. But that's not the heart of the problem.
I opened an envelope that appeared at my front door. Inside of that envelope was a decree from these people that I had to appear in front of the Queensland Human Rights Commission because of a joke that I told.
So we can let all Issac go on, but I think the matter is clear. Somebody has taken umbrage with something he said and feels it has infringed his human rights. The fact that he said this in the medium of a joke and that was obvious is apparently irrelevant to said person, whoever that may be. Now, it's got to be said that I don't agree with everything Issac says, but I don't agree with everything anybody says. And I do find him funny, but not all the time. But we're both adults and we can disagree because we're both adults, even if we occasionally like to act like children. To say, though, I find it excessive being brought before a tribunal for a joke is an understatement. So the opposite of excessive, I suppose.
Who would have thought that 2,000 people could come together right here tonight, all because we hate people? Hatred brings us together, ladies and gentlemen!
But do we have the right to offend each other with our senses of humour? And if we do, in what situation?
The beautiful thing about stand-up is you can say anything you want on stage. And people in the crowd have come along to that show to watch you. They enter into a contract where they know the things that you're saying on stage didn't really happen, you don't mean, and you're only saying them so that they will laugh. And after that laughter dissipates, it's forgotten about.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, we're speaking of a very specific situation here. Issac told this joke when he was on stage. So basically, this guy has paid to go and see a comedian to be offended. And to be bluntly honest, that doesn't put him in the greatest intellectual light. It's fair to say now that if you go and see a show, you should know what the comedian's like. You can't blame yourself if you put your hand in the oven and said, I didn't know ovens were hot. But, well, Issac calls these people weak. Now, I disagree with him there. I don't think we're talking about weak people who can't take jokes. I think we're talking about outrage junkies here. People who like to find stuff to get angry about. I'm I think everybody knows somebody like that. The one who's got an opinion. The ones who are always looking for somebody who disagrees with that opinion, just so they can shove their opinion down their throat. There's any amount of them. I avoid these people like the plague. I know them at work. I have them in my peer circle. I never argue with them. It's no good. I've just been in my previous video. I was talking about a race swapping incident involving Lord of the Rings and Magic the Gathering and Aragon getting the tan. The people who are against that, or for that rather, who say, well, who cares? And people saying that they're mental, hysterical. It's become far less challenging in the electronic age to confront people, because a lot of the time, if you confronted people like people do over the internet, you would be getting a dig, you'd be getting a punch, or there'd be a very loud argument, there'd be more people involved. It all boils down to some people like being able to make other people do stuff. That's honestly what I think. This person has decided that he's going to try and make Isaac do something that Isaac doesn't want to do. That Isaac doesn't want to do because it gives him a feeling of power. It's the power junkies, the aggression junkies, the attention seekers. All of the reasonable people I know, even if they don't like a joke, they won't make something of it. Even if they don't like the joke, they'll mention it later. I had a friend once, I accidentally called him a cunt in front of his mates at work. And we were at something he was working, and I didn't even realise I called him a cunt. And he didn't mention it till afterwards, and all he said is, "I would appreciate it, you wouldn't call me a cunt when I'm at work, Paul." And I said, fine. So that wasn't an appropriate joke. However, that's how you handle it. You don't write to the fucking local government, for Christ's sakes. I believe comedians are getting it more lately because they're larger targets. More people see them, more people will see the backlash, the more people will give the victims attention. Causes a bigger splash. Now I normally try and find some sort of middle ground, look at each situation as it occurs, but this is a flat, let stand-up comics crack their fucking jokes. And if you don't like them, don't go and watch the comic. I mean, I put Bill Burr on for an ex-girlfriend, and she didn't like his jokes on women. So we didn't watch Bill Burr again. I mean, for fuck's sake. And if you are one of these people who love trying to get other people into trouble on a small or a large scale, seriously, sort yourself out. You've got something wrong with you. You're not gonna, unless you're surrounded by a load of other people who think like that. And quite frankly, I'd rather be in a tank of piranhas than, well, you sort yourself out. Your life will be a whole lot better if you just stop trying to fuck around with other people's lives just to make yourself feel big. And a slight side caveat here, I do recall, and I mentioned this in a very early video of mine from last year, I did because of certain things, have a great deal of trouble taking jokes at my expense, and I learned the hard way through a gauntlet of friends at work, and the best thing I ever did was to stop taking those jokes seriously. Because if there's one thing you're not meant to do with a joke, is take it seriously. And my life got a lot better from that point. And I heartily recommend to anybody else who seems to think they're behooved to take a joke to heart all the time, then no, it's just work on it. Once you can laugh at yourself, and you might think you can, but whatever. Or at least assume that the people the jokes are about have the emotional maturity to laugh at it also, then maybe you'll be happier. Anyway, I promised that I would do a video to support Issac Butterfield for my small part, because a lot of people who are bigger than me, a lot bigger than me, are scared to. They have a great deal more to lose than myself. I don't think this is going to make much difference, and yes, perhaps I'm doing it because I'll gain something, because if I ride Isaac's coattails, I may get a few more subscribers and what have you. And this has also been something for me, because I do try to approach these things very carefully, and sometimes I think I might be too cautious. So maybe I'm going to have to, in the future, lay down exactly what side I'm on. So apparently that's a terrible idea according to the book I'm reading. Okay, right, anyway. If you like dirty racist... I won't say that. If you like dirty, dodgy jokes, go to Issac Butterfield, watch his comedy. If you don't like his comedy, don't watch it. If you want to find out, watch it once. It's easy as that. I'm away to enjoy the afternoon and have a good one.